chapter 44 of the third book of Ascent of Mount Carmel, St. John of the Cross discusses, among other things, the Pater Noster, or the Our Father prayer. And it seems that St. John, as well as St. Teresa of Avila, regarded the Our Father prayer as the perfect prayer. When his disciples besought him that he should teach them to pray, he would tell them all that is necessary in order that the Eternal Father may hear us, since he knew the Father's nature so well. Yet all that he taught them was the Pater Noster, with its 7 petitions wherein are included all our needs, both spiritual and temporal. St. John continues, "Neither is there any reason to use other forms in our words and prayers, nor phrases with double meanings, but only those which the Church uses, and in the manner wherein she uses them. For all are reduced to those which we have described, namely, the Pater Noster." In her book, The Way of Perfection, St. Teresa of Avila devotes multiple chapters to the Our Father prayer. She tells us how the prayer strengthens us against discouragement about past sins, disquiet, anxiety, and other dangers to spiritual growth. Now, in a recent video in the New American Bible playlist, which I have linked down below, I touched upon the fact that Pope Francis said that the words of the Our Father prayer, "Lead us not into temptation," are not correct, because he said that God does not actively lead us into temptation. So, Pope Francis's understanding of the words, "lead us not into temptation," are actually correct. This is something that has always been well known. God does not lead us into temptation. But the Church has always known this, and St. Teresa explains this. "May he not allow us to run into temptations which deceive us. May their poison be detected, and may light and truth not be hidden from us." How rightly does our good Master teach us to pray for this, and pray for it in our name. But on the other hand, Pope Francis is absolutely wrong in saying that the translation of the Vulgate is wrong, because it conflicts with his understanding of the verse. There's been a great deal of discussion about this issue in the Catholic press. The National Catholic Register, which is owned by EWTN, tells us that this issue isn't a big deal. They tell us that people are making this a tempest in a teapot. "Shame on all of them," writes Jimmy Akin, writing for the National Catholic Register and EWTN. But Mr. Akin is arguing against whether Pope Francis is intending to make this a mandatory change in the translation. More importantly, though, he's glossed over the real problem, which is that Pope Francis is saying that the translation of the Vulgate, the official Bible of the Catholic Church, is wrong because it isn't consistent with Pope Francis's understanding of the verse. As we've discussed in past videos, the 4th session of the Council of Trent established the Vulgate as the official Bible of the Catholic Church. The same Holy Council ordains and declares that the old Latin Vulgate edition, which, in use for so many hundred years, has been approved by the Church, be in public lectures, disputations, sermons, and expositions, held as authentic, and that no one dare or presume under any pretext whatsoever to reject it. So as a general rule, it seems that when anybody else wants to change the translation of the Bible so that it might coincide with their understanding of it, EWTN has a problem with it. Well, for instance, let's look at Martin Luther. When he translated the Bible, he changed the 3rd chapter of St. Paul's letter to the Romans from saying, "For we hold that a man is justified by faith," to saying that man is justified by faith alone. He added the word alone, faith alone, to the Bible so that the translation of the Bible matched his understanding of it. According to EWTN.com, Martin Luther, in translating the Bible from original texts to German, took liberty in rendering certain texts in accord with what he determined the sense of the text to be, based on his theological presumptions. So, what does EWTN think about that? They say, Luther defended this by claiming this is what St. Paul intended. Too bad Luther did not give sufficient credit to God to ensure that he expressed what he intended. So it seems that when anybody else but Pope Francis changes biblical texts in accord with what they determine the sense of the text should be, based on their theological presumptions, it's a bad thing. But when Pope Francis says it's okay to change divinely inspired text, EWTN doesn't bat an eye. Well, I hope you enjoyed this installment. We'll be back again in about a week with another one. But in the meantime, please check out my Facebook page, which is linked down below. Every day I post additional content that you won't find on this YouTube channel. And please, pray for the Church.